We've got probably 15 to 20, and the numbers are growing all the time in regards to participation in this last wrap-up session. So we can't thank you enough for spending your day with us. I haven't had a chance to talk to every one of you in one of the sessions I've been in, but I've heard a lot of good things about what's been offered today in the trainings for the popcorn sale for 2020. So a big shout out to all of our volunteers that supported us in some of the different sessions, from Wendy and Zane Miner to Chrissy Crone and her kids, to Nathan Hay and Daryl Hay from Massachusetts, Amy Holfacker, Logan Robinson, of course Jack Pate, our council chairman, Rachel Lambert, as well as Carmen Stowen. We had Rick Bloss from Trails End supporting us earlier, Becca Scott, and we have had, of course, our staff members, Grant Burnett, our new staff member representing the Lincoln Heritage District, Chris Felton, Abby Roberts, and of course, Jake Kinman from the Trails End Popcorn Company. So a big thank you to everybody for your support for the day. What we'd like to do is kind of hit things with a slideshow that we'll share, and we'll walk things through with a wrap up for our kickoff session for today. And pretty straightforward. We'll click and shoot and that sort of stuff. We've got, everybody understands the purpose of the sale. They understand that 73% of the price of popcorn is coming back into scouting, that its impact is tremendous. It's been over $4 billion returned to local scouting, and we've talked often about the fact that the popcorn sale did start with our council, and we're very proud of that. When we're looking at the Trails End app, there's been some changes to support our volunteers and our parents. One of the key features that I could think of too would have been the fact that right now credit card transactions can be transferring money from a parent into the unit. So they could make it cashless almost in the whole sale as a popcorn kernel. And I know some of our kernels would appreciate that. The promotion of online direct is huge. We've been talking about that several sessions today, about the fact that online sales really are going to have to be the biggest push in order to keep our scouts as safe as possible, keep our customers safe too. It's touchless, and the product gets delivered to their home. And Jack Pate's been preaching for many years about the fact that it's less hours that our salesmen are on the street, and it makes life easier for all. So we're hoping that the online direct campaign will carry us through with big sales. The app has gotten easier than ever before for it to be downloaded from the App Store and with Google Play, and it matches up with all the phones that are out there. They've done a good job with the mobile version of the app, and if you can text the number to Trails End, they'll send you the links to get it downloaded onto your phones. The Google or the Square readers, Jake, I don't know if you want to chime in on Square readers and where we stand with that, but we know some Square readers have been distributed in the past to our units that have been selling different levels and some of our salesmen. And I also know that those are going to be sent out again this year too.
Yep. So for those Square readers, we did not do the units because not knowing how units will be meeting. But for scouts who sold over $1,000, as soon as they sign into their app through the phone, they should have a notification where they can fill out their address and we will mail it directly to them. And then for the scouts who sold over 3,500, they will be receiving a Bluetooth Square reader sent directly to their house. And you just need to sign into the app. You should get the notification right when you sign in and just fill out your address.
So with the Square reader, we'll talk about that again a little bit later. It's another slide. It was a little bit early on that, but that's a big asset to help us. The Trails End Leader Portal, Jake hit this session first thing this morning in regards to how that was going to work with managing your sale, and then that's the portal that you use to place your orders, managing your inventory. You can manage the storefronts. We know we're not going to have very many storefronts, but it's still important to understand how that's going to work, and then it connects back through the app. But this is how you will submit your reward. rewards. There are guidebooks and help sheets available on our websites to help you through that.
Yeah, and one of the things I'd say to that unit leader portal, I know not everybody was able to hop on the session this morning with myself. One of the best resources you guys will be able to see to navigate that is our webinars, which we are still running pretty much every day. We have multiple webinars. You guys can hop on. Very in-depth session, and we will answer all the questions, keep that session going as long as possible until no more questions. Make sure you guys feel fully confident and comfortable with the system.
Yeah, I won't argue that. The webinars have been really helpful. I know our staff members have been getting in on it too. Sometimes the questions are a little bit more frequent than others. I know one session I was on, the questions lasted for almost an hour. So we'll hang around again today to answer your questions too. The app improvements. This is one that I will tell you that it's kind of like a big office desk phone, or the phone that's on that you had 10 years ago at home. You had more buttons on it and features than you knew how to use them all. So some people are up and they're savvy with all the buttons and features on their televisions now and smart TVs, and they're able to Google Share and Chromecast and all those different features. But there's a lot more improvements that have popped up with the Trails End app this year. And this slide really kind of highlights some of those points. You know, the credit payment option for parents to pay cash owed to the unit. That was one of the key points that I caught as like a big self-help point that others talked about in previous webinars. They're very happy to see that. This will also, and Jay, correct me if I'm wrong, when you go into the online direct, you're going to see exactly what the offerings are with inventory, what's being offered by Trails End. Is that correct?
Yep, that is correct. Everything that's available will be shown through the app.
Okay. So this is a feature that's relatively new, new this year, with the online direct being a mechanic inside the app, whereas it wasn't that way before. And for where we're at this year, this is really going to be helpful for our scouts. Because in the past, you would have to provide addresses for people to log in elsewhere at another time. You never knew if they would get into it. So hopefully you can complete the sale here. So like I said, there's two ways for them to do it. They can do it directly in the app, and you can also share your page. So those are two options. This is the Square Reader. Like I said, I was a little bit early on that, where it talked about who's going to get it, how do they work. There's a Bluetooth one, and there's also one that'll work with an Apple or a Google phone. So keep that in mind when your scouts are signing up for that. So that threshold was at $1,000 in last year's sale, and $3,500 and up in last year's sale should be getting the Bluetooth readers. But your unit needs to be committed first. The scouts need to be signed up as well. They have to ask and request this. This is not automatically going to come to them. So make sure that they are requesting it. And also using support@trailsend.com if you have questions about that. The Trails End reward system. We've talked about this in the rewards and commission section. Jack Pate, Jake Kinnaman, and myself, we talked about this quite a bit. The aspect of rewarding our scouts for having credit card sales, but also the promotion of the online direct sales, was really important this year when we looked at prize programs. We've dropped the Keller prize program that you've been used to and accustomed to in the past. And we're going with this streamlined method of using Trails End rewards, utilizing Amazon gift cards, making it electronic, ending the distribution and the sorting of prizes and that in the Popcorn Kernels home. And hopefully we'll make life a little bit easier for all of you. The reward point system is a little bit complicated at first. I think once we get through it the first year, I think you'll feel a little bit better about it. But earlier conversations with some of the volunteers on the seminars have said that they like it. They appreciate it. They're hoping that this will bring greater success for them too. So we'll see how it goes. So we're hopeful for good things too. Committing to the sale is one of the points that we've been talking to units about. We have about 3/4 of our units that sold last year committed to sell this year, which is great. And if they committed earlier for selling popcorn, the chance to get a 5% bonus was available up through August 15th, up till today. And these are the webinars that Jake was talking earlier. If you've not watched one of the Trails End webinars, we did show some pieces of a webinar earlier. There's 3 different key webinars that you can look at as a popcorn kernel that might be helpful. And it's broken down by sales level from the previous year. So keep that in mind. We do want you to attend a webinar. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you can see there's an incentive there for the first people that jump in there. They're going to be sending out $20 Amazon gift cards as a recognition piece for the first 5,000 units. Jake, do you have any idea if those prizes have all been redeemed yet, or if they're still eligible for receiving?
I do not have that yet.
Okay.
I can find out though and send it to you and send it to everybody else.
Okay. We're just kind of curious because we, don't want to miss out on the incentives that we can get our hands on it. So $20 is $20. So.
Certainly, here you there.
All right, the Facebook. There's a couple Facebook pages. There's a Facebook page that the Trails End company is monitoring and sharing. Sean Stanford, who is up in Indy, is the administrator for it. They get a lot of play in it. There's probably 4 or 5 posts a day, I would say, on average, with communication lines that can be anywhere from 20 to 50 people with responses on it from all across the country. Let me throw this softball out there to you, though. Remember that when you're watching and paying attention to the Trails End Facebook page, you're going to see information from across the country. There are local decisions that different councils make. So, for instance, the retail price on a product is not universal across the country. We're trying to follow Trails End recommendation levels on retail sales prices as we have in our past practices. That's not to say that in Seattle, Washington, they're going to charge the same amount for a jar of the popping corn. They may not even sell the popping corn. So you need to be aware of that there are some local customized points in a local council. So when you're talking and reading in Facebook, it's not always the same for everybody. Our timelines are different than any other council. So keep that in mind, keep it in perspective. Don't feel like you're getting dragged through the mud or get down in the dumps if you see some people going negative or whatever. But at the same time too, you might be able to offer some great hints and some great tips. So for instance, today, Amy Holfacker talked about these emoticons or whatever they're called and in selling the pitch to the people in her pack. And it was absolutely awesome. I'd never seen it. And it's kind of one of those points that she's talented and she did a great job with it. Well, you may find ideas like this all the time in Facebook too. So
they were Bitmojis, John. Bitmojis.
Bitmojis. See, I don't even know what to call it.
Making sure, just making sure we got it right. Bitmojis.
I'm an old man. So. All right. I was around before internet with cell phones that had cables to them. So one of those things. So going into key dates for our sale. We would like to get our units show and sell orders by the end of August 31st. And recommendation levels that we're at is at 30% of last year's sale is a maximum amount that we're going to be accepting. We're saying that because we want you to be cautious about distribution of that product. We don't want you to touch the product more often than necessary. The distribution of the show and sell is scheduled for the 22nd of September. We've got some mechanics in place that we're kind of concerned with. One of our distribution sites is not confirmed. And we've learned that company has had some COVID cases that may stop us from utilizing that facility. We will be in contact with the units that this impacts as soon as we have things confirmed. The take orders will be due by the 28th of October. And at that time, we're going to be requesting a partial payment of your show and sell product. 75% of the cost of that show and sell product will be due on the 28th of October. This is something new. It's a partial payment on what's owed to the council on that. So hopefully your sale will be wrapped up of your show and sell items, and you'll be in good shape. Then we'll have the distribution of take order product will be roughly about November 13th. We'll get confirmations with Trails End at that period of time, because we know they would really like about 3 weeks turnaround time from the time we collect the order to the time we distribute to you. But we're also looking at a point in time, and we'll work with Trails End and share that information as soon as we can. Another point in our key dates to remember is in the past, we had talked about the close of the sale. Well, we're going to phrase this a little bit differently now. We're going to say final payment due to the council is November 30th, okay? And we're saying that from this fashion. There is a chance that some product will still be in the hands in the inventory of our Cub Scout packs and our Scout troops. We don't want to say final sale date, because if you still have inventory in hand, we want you to sell it. And we don't want to paint the impression that you're not able to sell it after that date. It's a shift, it's a pivot, it's a mechanical tool that we're using with you as volunteers that you need to then share this with your families too, okay? So these dates are going to be published. These are going to be part of the PowerPoint slideshow that'll be put out on our council pages in the weeks ahead. We know that we're really concerned about the distribution on sites and facilities, but we'll stay in contact with you as soon as we can. So at this point right now, keep these dates in mind. These might be a little bit different than the last time we published a council calendar, and we will continue to keep you informed with other mechanical tools of communicating with our staff members, our district volunteers, our mass email systems, and our council Facebook page. So please stay tuned to us the best you can. Hosting a virtual kickoff. This is one of the recommendations that we would have too for your units to really look at that. This PowerPoint slideshow, there's one almost identical to it for units to use. And we want you to use it. And we want you to insert your dates into it that are specific for your unit. We want you to get pictures of your scouts and put them into your presentation as well. It's a simple PowerPoint slideshow. You can download it today. But there's a couple things that you need to customize. The dates for your unit are your unit's dates. So if you are going to be collecting or you're going to have a sales training for your salespeople face-to-face or virtually, you have to put that into it. If you're going to be collecting money at certain dates, or you have certain events that you want to distribute the popcorn to, you need to share that as well. If there's a certain volunteer that's holding your inventory and you want to share that contact information, that would have to be added. The dates that we shared earlier, these dates, I do not recommend you share these dates with your volunteers in your unit or your parents. Those are council dates. Your unit needs to be a little bit more aggressive on getting that ahead of time. So keep that in mind. We want you to be up to speed with it. We want you to teach people how to download the app. We want you to share the videos. We want you to practice your sales pitches. All these hints are in the virtual kickoff PowerPoint display that's already available on the Trails End sites. But don't forget too, product cost might be a little bit different on that base point that's in the slideshow that's posted with Trails End. As I said before, the council's made some decision on pricing that might be different than everybody else across the country. So keep that in mind. These are a list of resources that Trails End's offering to you as leaders and also to our families. And it's using a texting system in order to share the links back and forth. And you can copy and paste this. This is also in that PowerPoint presentation too. But I'll be honest with you, I'm really impressed with the Trails End pieces of literature they've created. They've taken a lot of the tools that the Buffalo Trace Council has been using for many years, and they jumped on it and they shared it with everybody else. I saw some things that we've been doing for years and they're calling it theirs. So we didn't get any credit for our tools, Jake. Thanks. We appreciate that.
Yeah, we'll make sure to add a little insert.
Yeah, sure.
But you guys do popcorn great, and you guys do it the right way. So appreciate you guys doing that so well over the past couple of years.
So for instance, the popcorn journal guide that's been developed by Trails End this year is really good. There's a lot of good pieces to it. And rather than recreating our own and flagging it for our council, we're taking a lot of the Trails End work ahead of time and doing it that way. So we're sharing that information to you today too. So for instance, this is the product lineup. This is a little bit different than might have been in the baseline that was in the previous slideshow that we pulled off. So those are the products that we're going to be selling in our council. We're offering 2 different dollar levels on donations for American Heroes, but if a customer wants to donate lesser amount, they're welcome to do so. And they can push a $20 product to then spending $30 if they throw a $10 donation and they want to reach the $30 and more free shipping opportunity that's currently in place. Keep that in mind. The other thing too, the cheese lovers collection at $35, that's great. You know, they bump another $5, they might get to the $40 and up shipping level. So there is some shipping changes on commissions that are going to be changing and impacting our council. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Next item that I have is Buffalo Trace Council's prizes. The council is going to be continuing the top 100 and top family recognitions as we've done in the past. Unfortunately, right now, we don't know for sure what's going to happen with things like the Otters games, the Otters season, the UE men's basketball game that we've had, and the Thunderbolts hockey game, where we were able to provide those tickets to our scouts and an adult participant. We don't know for sure if we have final confirmation on those programs, mostly due to the pandemic. We apologize for not being able to put that into place and make those promises to you and those commitments, but I know you understand and you're not really surprised at that. So, but we are looking at also the gift certificates in the Scout Shop. Right now, they have a current expiration date of September 30th for the 2019 sale. We know that's not going to cross, we can't afford to cross that into next year. But we're also trying to work with our families that currently hold a gift certificate to come into our shop, set an appointment with us, tell us when they want to come in, and also order items in out of stock out of the national websites if they want to have items brought in to fulfill those gift certificates. So communicate with our staff. Let us know if there's ways we can help you in the redemption of previous year sale prizes, and we'll go the next direction. So Trails End support, this is one of the key points because a lot of the comments and questions that we have from our volunteers are really directed through Trails End. They control the mechanics behind the app, the Colonel's portal in order to manage the sale for their unit as well are really keyed up through Trails End staff members. So we're really going to direct you in that direction first. We will provide other support mechanics through our staff, through the efforts of our distribution team, through the efforts of our volunteers as well. So we don't want to ignore that as well. So, for instance, this picture here was a picture of Nathan. He was one of our scouts early on in the sale this morning, but he wanted to talk and he shared his picture of what he was using in order to practice social distancing. We need your help. We need your support to share good things like this with everybody else. So continue to communicate with us the best you can. So I don't know if Jack Pate dropped off the call yet or not. I knew he had to, but I wanted to open things up for other discussions if needed.
First question in the chat box is why is our caramel corn price $12, but it's $10 through online direct?
One of the points that we went with is we also looked at neighboring councils, and everybody in the state of Indiana is looking at a $12 price point. And we're putting ourselves in that $12 price point in order to help save on costs. So kind of like we had neighbors across one county line or another, they're selling it at the same cost as us now.
Yeah, and one of the things with that $12, we've seen some other councils sell it at 12. And what it ultimately should do is somebody who's willing to spend 10, I'd willing to bet that they're willing to spend an extra $2 to support that scout should hopefully return more back to you guys. I'm sure you guys should also receive some more donations and everything else from that $12. So hopefully it'll generate more back to you guys for your program.
Anything else in the chat? Abby or Chris?
That's currently the only question, but now is definitely the time. So if you have questions, put them in the chat or let us know that you want to speak, and then you can unmute yourself.
You've been a good group. We appreciate all your help.
Yeah, really
With-
appreciate all you guys coming on a Saturday morning, spending your time learning. You guys have been awesome. But I have included my email. If you guys have any questions that come up later or anything that we can do to help support you, don't hesitate to reach out.
We have two questions. One is, when can Scouts start taking orders in the app? And is it okay to start wagon sales now?
So the only problem with wagon sales is you don't have the product in hand, okay? So you're taking it on a take order basis, which is not a problem. You'll just have to work out the delivery mechanics in the app and make sure you mark it as not delivered, that it's not a delivered item. So when those transactions are happening. So yeah, you're welcome to start those sales now. That might be helpful. I would also recommend the online sales first, just to get comfortable with the app and working through that, the online direct. The other thing too is before you start launching on a day in sales, try a test in regards to looking and see what the shipping costs are before you start off. And I don't know, Jake, if there's a way for them to double check that before they start promoting it to other people.
Yeah, so one of the things that we're going to be doing is trialing different shipping promotions, but we'll be announcing it weekly. So you guys will find out every Tuesday what those promotions will look like for the full week. But ultimately, we want to find a way to return the most back to you guys and get the consumers to increase. The current free shipping took consumers from about 25% of them going all the way through the shopping cart once they started to now 50%. So 1 in 2 people who, once they start an order, convert those into sales. So I want to continue to make that better for all of you to help generate more online sales and overall more money back to your program.
One of the things we want to talk a little bit about too was returns. For the last for years, we've been offering free returns to everybody regarding product that would be coming back to the council office. We would ask it to be returned, and then we would push it back out to people for the take order for the second round of ordering and distribution. That's not the case this year. We're not accepting any returns at all. That's why we're really not recommending ordering more than 30% of what your sale was last year. And we're saying that in a conservative nature because we don't want you to get stuck with it, and the council can't afford to be stuck with it either. We're also trying to minimizing the amount of contact in regards to the amount of time we're touching a bag of popcorn. We don't want to do that unnecessarily. We want to limit that as best we can. We talked earlier in another session too about being up front. When you're holding your meetings, you set the tone with the cleanliness of how you're preaching it to everybody else. So the first 3 families show up for your face-to-face distribution of popcorn. If all of them are not wearing facial coverings and you're not concerned about social distancing, you're going to set the tone that it's okay to not wear a mask. That's not what we recommend. That's not part of the practices that we're promoting in scouting. We want you to wear facial coverings when you're not able to protect, to practice social distancing. We also encourage the use of hand sanitizer as much as possible and washing of your hands. And we also want to look at that as being, that's what you're going to set the tone with everybody else. So if you're distributing the popcorn to families, put the pump bottle out there and make sure you remind them, hey, before you touch it, use the hand sanitizer, help us take it out to the cars, put it in there. Thank you very much for coming. Avoid shaking hands. All those points are still really concerned, okay? Now, the question is there someone to help units in regarding trading popcorn within units? No, that can be done within the app. You can trade with another unit on inventory controls within the app. But let's go back to the point we just said earlier. We want to maintain the clean factors of the product, okay? I'm a fan of full cases whenever possible. If you're going to try and trade a $10 item here and there, I don't know if it's really worth it, okay? I would be cautious about small levels of trade back and forth. That's one of the other reasons why we have a payment due to the council date, not a council end of sale date. So keep that in mind. We want you to exhaust all your inventory as much as you can. If you do lose out you do sell all your inventory If we can replenish it, we hope to do so.
And then, did you see the follow-up question to that, John? How do we know who needs product? I don't know if you guys have any Facebook page or something, or some way that we can create a link to community.
You're always welcome to push it out on the council Facebook page. There's also district meetings that are going to be taking place. Communicating with your district volunteers with popcorn as well. The biggest concern is when you're transferring product, you're maintaining the clean aspects of it. You know, if they're sealed cases, it's going to be easier to distribute to somebody else than loose items. So be conservative with it.
I have a question. I always have a customer who buys kettle corn. I'm not seeing kettle corn anywhere.
Correct. Kettle corn is no longer being manufactured by Trails End.
Correct. Yeah.
Boo.
Definitely not ideal, and something that we'll be looking at bringing back in 2021. With the COVID, our capacity to produce things has been a struggle. As John was mentioning, the no returns. The last thing we want is excess inventory for you guys, councils, and of course ourselves. We always have excess as well. So one of the best ways to limit that is to reduce the number of SKUs, products available. In kettle corn, I know some people love kettle and it's their go-to, but it was a bottom 3 sales for the country, and I can pull up exactly what it was for your council, but I assume it's likewise one of the bottom 3.
Probably just my customer.
Yeah, but I hear you. It's I personally like kettle. I know there's some consumers out there, but if they're willing to support scouting, I'm confident that they'll find something else to purchase, whether it's coffee or maybe they just do American Heroes donation.
Any other questions? You've been a great group today.
This question is, would Trails End ever consider segregating their site with the different districts or areas to avoid confusion with process and items available?
Not sure if I fully understand.
I think she's asking, like, would they ever consider making it so that if the West Coast has different prices than the East Coast, it would show?
Yeah, that's something that'd just be so hard to manage in a way. I know a large portion of the online sales come from outside the council boundaries. So if you start segregating that, it then kind of depends where that consumer's from, and there's just not an easy way to really do that, unfortunately. So that's why we have to have kind of a unilateral product mix, product line whenever we have online, because you may have people from California supporting people in Buffalo Trace Council, or they may be just next door in Indianapolis, or just come from all so many different places. It's hard to control that.
Put it this way, there's probably 200 councils that are active with the Trails End popcorn sale. And at one time, Trails End customized the program about 100 different ways. And that was a year when there was 17 different products that we offered as a council. And it was absolutely tough for our staff to manage. It was difficult for our popcorn kernels to manage as well. And after that year, our staff members pretty much told me, says, never again. And I said, it's okay. I mean, it was, we fit the need for every customer, you know. It was tough. It was really challenging. I'm hoping that the Trails End learned a lot of those lessons, and now they've been forced into some of these points that we talked earlier about. We're not offering that many products this year in our sale. It's probably the least amount ever. But at the same time too, we need to make sure we're offering a quality product all across the board. We have to make sure that we can provide the inventory that's needed all across the country. I'm a little bit concerned and scared with how shipping and distribution is going to go for the company. But at the same time, too, if it fails for us, it's going to fail for other councils, too. So we lag a little bit on timelines with some other councils, but we'll take advantage of that opportunity because Trails End sometimes learns their lessons and corrects before it comes time for the Evansville Council to place their orders. And Jake knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Apparently.
And let me circle back into one of those conversations. A couple years ago, when we placed our order, we supported 2 other councils in the state of Indiana when we placed our order. We took excess product off of their hands because they accepted so much in returns that they couldn't get rid of their product. And they got backwards with inventory expenses. And I'm saying this from the point of the Indianapolis Council and Fort Wayne. We took product from both of those councils at the same cost as what Trails End had, but they helped us out by dropping the shipping expenses. So we're looking at how are we going to make this work for us? And one of the things that we're looking at is if we reduce the early inventory level, we may have another shipment of product come in a couple weeks later if it's all distributed out. But we're also going to have the policy of no returns. Because if we distribute all of our product out and you continue to ask for more because you put it out with inventory kits, and then you would take returns from all those scouts, you're going to want to distribute it back to us. We can't take it. We have to look at reducing the risk for everybody altogether. So be cautious about your kits. If you've given out kits that the levels of $400 or $500 to scouts, we suggest you cut that in half. So be cautious about those types of things that you've done before you just jump in and think that this is automatic, exactly what we did last year. So to review again, show and sell products will be coming into our council territory about the 3rd week of September. We don't know where schools are going to be with their holding classes. We don't know where we're going to be with the pandemic. We don't know where the states are going to be with the pandemic. So we're cautious too. And you need to be cautious as well. But Trails End will support us throughout September, October, and November. If the product is available and it's selling, and they will kick it out as much as they can. But no one wants to get caught. No one wants to get stuck with large bills. No one wants to have a financial loss with the product sale. So that's why we're also reminding people the opportunity that Jim was asking about earlier. Transferring product from one unit to another is a leverage point, okay? It minimizes risk for other people. We will encourage those transfers to happen, but those will happen from one unit to another. Transferring inventory from one unit to another has been happening for years, okay? And I can tell you, the old system of how we manage inventory levels, it brought tears to the eyes of many popcorn kernels when they went to try to reconcile their accounts with us in our office. And they've worked with our staff for hours trying to figure out where I can't find my problems. Well, inventory management is one of those points. So we're suggesting you dial back to a 30% level. We also don't know where your recruiting tools are going to be and what your recruiting numbers are going to be. So for instance, if you have successful recruiting efforts in the tail end of August and early September, we'll talk again about, do you need more product? And we've talked with Jake about distribution and the opportunity for additional shipments to come to Evansville in the future. We'll just have to work out whether it's going to be at the dock at the office or back at warehouse services, or whether or not we're going to actually be able to make distributions back directly to local district spots like Vincennes or in Jasper, okay? Other questions out there?
Someone asks if we would consider doing another small sale in the spring for packs or troops who don't feel comfortable selling now or might not sell as much as they normally would.
That's a judgment we're not talking about right now. I'm banging my head against the wall with this year's sale enough.
One clarification point, when you say 30%, do you mean of the total sale last year or 30% of their show and sells?
30% of last year's total sale is the maximum recommended level that we would suggest. Jake, any follow-up to that?
Yeah, I just hit on that. I mean, keep it to around 30%, a quarter, a third of what you guys did last year. If you guys are selling through and products moving, we'll find a way to get more product into the council to get to you guys. But the last thing, as John was mentioning, we want is you guys get stuck with a large amount of excess. Seems this year things are changing weekly, so we don't know what the next week really has in store for us. So let you guys just kind of take it week by week and don't overcommit yourself with no returns this year, and we'll get product to you as you sell through it.
Yeah, the other side of it too is your scout does not have to have product in hand in order to sell popcorn.
Yep.
Okay, and that's why I love that poster that I threw that picture up earlier of that scout. You know, that's a great angle. That's like saying you've got the product ready to come to your house, and it's only going to cost you $8 to have it delivered. You know, in some cases, our customers will pay it, or they might cross over that threshold of free shipping. The free shipping options, we don't want to modify it too much. We want to be cautious with how often we promote it. We are looking at modifying unit commissions and council commissions by as much as 10% on the council and about 5% on the units if we do offer free shipping. So those are things that we're looking at. We've been looking at pilot programs with Trails End. They've been playing with this over the last couple of weeks. We really don't have that many of our scouts making sales online yet. I think we've got about 35 scouts that have sold online in the council. I think we've crossed like $7,000 in total online sales. But, you know, I hope that'll be a different story in a month from today, you know. So I think today, if anything else, we empowered you to tell others to go out and sell popcorn online. Use the product images that are on the app for our leaders. Share those product images with your families. Take advantage of the Vistaprint offering. Make sure your scouts that have sold over $1,000 last year, everybody like in the top 100, make sure they're all getting registered. Some of them are eligible for the Square readers. As soon as they get those shipped to their home, they're going to be energized. They're going to be ready to go. So that'll help too. So pretty much to place your show and sell order, you can do that in the leader portal, in the leaders site. If you need help with that, there are some basic one-page cheat sheets that Trails End's created to help you get logged in. There's an actual beautiful guidebook that they've created for that portal as well. And it's printable. You can print it. You can have it. You don't have to read it all online. I mean, that document there alone is 35 pages, okay?
It's a book.
It's a book, but it also talks about inventory control, okay? So those tools have been built. They're ready to go. They're ready to help you. The videos are growing in quantity all the time. The number of people watching videos has been helpful as well. So please share it.
Yeah, and I believe next week or the following week, if you guys have been on our webinars, the beginning video in which we play, that will be coming to the unit portal here soon. So here in the next upcoming weeks, we'll be having that in there where you guys can watch as well. But still encourage the webinar because it's an interaction. We have live people there answering questions, whatever it may be, portal related or just sale related. Best practice there.
Okay. Any other questions? Our goal was to be done by 3:30 in the afternoon. I think we're going to meet it, possibly. Or at least stay on the line and answer all the questions until you're exhausted. So.
I want to reiterate something that Becca said during our marketing, your sale session, which is this does not have to be overwhelming. It doesn't have to be difficult. Just pick a few things and do them really well. These are different times, but it doesn't have to be bad. This is a great opportunity to go get out of your house, walk your neighborhood, see some people, talk to some people. So take the opportunity.
Over the next week, we've got several things coming down the pike for you as a leader. We've been recording these sessions today. One session I was like 20 minutes into it, and I remember I forgot to push the record button, so I apologize on that. But we're going to convert these and get them posted on our council website. We know that there's a lot of volunteers that might not have heard about today's session, today's training, and we apologize for that. We're in the process of working on those points, and we'll share that communication with them that they can come to our council website and get it. The documents that Trails End's developed have been great. They're already out there. They're posted on the Trails End sites. We'll repost some of those same items. And we've got some building of our own council documents to do yet too. There's some other meetings coming up too that we need to inform you. If you're a Cub Scout leader, we're going to have a training webinar on Thursday evening. Abby, is that at 6 o'clock?
Yes.
Yeah,
August
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Yeah. So we're going to be holding a leader training for Cub Scout recruitment on Thursday evening at 6 o'clock. Check back with us on finding a link for it and that. And then we're going to be looking at virtual recruitment support. So hopefully we'll be starting our virtual recruitment efforts of Cub Scouts the tail end of August and the first part of September. Chris and Abby, anything else for the group?
The only thing for my district is that there's the possibility that we will not be able to do distribution at KCARC this year. There's an issue. It's still being worked out. The backup site is going to be the National Guard Armory off of Willow Street in Vincennes. So not a huge change, basically just 2 streets, difference from where KCARC was. It's off of it's not quite right off Willow Street. It's a little bit down, but we'll make sure to get the directions and where it's at to everyone. But again, this is not confirmed or anything. We're still waiting to hear back from KCARC, but that is one possibility of a change for our district.
Any other questions?
Hi, John.
Yes, ma'am.
Is council going to mandate certain requirements for any storefronts, or is it just going to be up to the PAC?
Sure. Repeat the question again.
Is council going to mandate certain requirements for storefront selling? Like you have to have, obviously, I'm going to just suggest the mask regardless, but are PACs able to say this is council's requirement?
Well, there's 2 parts to that. One is we cross into 2 different state regulations and 2 different levels of accessibility, okay?
Okay.
There is a statewide mandate in the state of Indiana, that's in place. It's advertised. In Illinois, it's almost just as restrictive as well. I can't really quote what the state policies are with it, but I think there is a requirement for masks. Jim, is that true? Okay, I think there is also there too. I would not recommend multiple families at a storefront at one time. I would suggest 1 family at a time in a storefront. Those are recommendations that I would have that I would institute as a PAC or troop policy. Create that leverage point, talk with your PAC committee members about it, that this is your recommendation, this is your plan, this is what you heard about in the training, and if you need backbone and support, you call us. Okay. Because I think we have to err on the side of caution. I said it earlier in one of the other sessions, or maybe even this one too. We collectively set the tone for our families as leaders in the organization. And we have to be aggressive with being very conservative with how we handle the COVID protocols. If we don't practice social distancing as leaders, if we don't encourage our volunteers, our family members, our youth members to do the same, it will be looked at in a negative light by a lot of families in the community as a whole. The last thing we want to do is talk about family members that have been impacted and possibly contracted COVID-19 because of scouting functions. I would much rather talk about the safety practices that we have in place. We have a lot of challenges ahead for us in the coming weeks that we've talked about in other meetings. We're not going to talk about it today, but we really need to be on the positive side of things with what's going on with scouting. Your units are doing great things. Please share those activities with others. Continue to practice good turn projects in your communities. Share them. Find something to do for your elementary schools with an Adopt a School program if you can, and tell others what you're doing. That'll help sell in the popcorn sale as well by telling others what you're doing in the community. So create the leverage points where we can, because we're having an impact on the families, and our families need us to be active. They need things to do. So they need scouting. There's no doubt about it. Anything else for the group? All right, well, we will wrap up and call it a day. Okay, thank you all very much. We hope you enjoyed it. We will, as we said, we'll try to post the links as quickly as we can on our websites. Share your comments and suggestions to others for what we can do to improve the Popcorn University again. Put it this way, we're not planning on doing this again next Saturday, okay? But we'll post everything that we had out there. We'll share it with you. And if you have questions, we know you're going to have some questions in the next couple weeks, okay? Ask them. Share the comments, share the questions that you have, and we really appreciate what you've done for us. So thanks a bunch, folks. Take care, stay safe.